Hello Yu-Gi-Oh players and welcome to Yu-Gi-Oh! And Business Casual. I'm your host, the RJB0. So yesterday, I went up to the Seattle Regional and I got my national invite using my Thunder deck. Unfortunately, I did not get top 8, but I did have a winning streak that basically went the entire day until round 8 when I lost in Game 3 to a Mono Mermail deck because they top-decked Avarice and it gave them a heavy and a Squall. And then I lost in round 9 to my friend Kyle, who first of all is a fantastic player. He's won a couple of SJCs back when they were SJCs, and I just made some absolutely dumbass misplays. So I kind of deserved to lose that round, but I did have a great time, and I brought a deck that nobody expected, and it was just extremely fun, and it worked spectacularly well. I mean, I got my invite off of it, so let's do a deck profile. I'm sure that's what you guys are here for. So first of all, it being a Thunder deck, I had to run the 3 Thunder Seahorse. It's basically your Stratos. Gets you just anything in your deck. It's fantastic. It's a turn 1/1. Just everything good is this card. Then you have the core of the deck, which is your 6 Thunder family monsters, your 3 Maw Hunters, and your 3 Paw Hunters. Now, I didn't run Sis. A lot of people do run Sis, but I felt that for the most part, Sis did not have a whole lot of synergy with this version of the deck. It didn't. It just didn't have enough synergy with the rest of the deck. It's terrible to get turn 1. It's a bad top deck. There are just a lot of things that I could have run better than Sis Hunter, and I think that this lineup right here was all I really needed for the Thunder family. And Sis Hunter also doesn't have a whole lot of synergy with these 3 cards. Wat Cobras. This card was my MVP of the deck. Like yesterday, this card put in more work than any other card in my deck because I could summon it with Maw Hunter or Paw Hunter, poke for 1,000, get my plus off of it, go for an Xyz, usually a Paladynamo, wreck the field. I could protect him with a lot of back row or Messenger of Peace or whatever, and keep poking my opponent, keep getting searches, get pluses off of this guy. This guy just won me tons of games. Not to mention, actually, it really did win me a match against Dino Rabbit because he tried to push me into time, and we actually did open the next match in time, or the next game in time, and I ended up drawing a Wat Cobra, Messenger of Peace, and 3 back row. So, yeah, Wat Cobra is the MVP of this deck, and it also gets me my Wat Giraffe. I only run 1 Wat Giraffe, partially because I could only find 1, and also just because 1 is enough. This card is amazing. You can summon it with one of the Thunder family monsters or with Photon Thrasher, and then you can poke your opponent for 1,200, and then they can't stop your Xyz monster. It's just a freaking fantastic card. I might have run 2 if I had gotten 1, but I think 1 was definitely enough, particularly with recycling batteries in the deck. Then I ran 2 Photon Thrasher. It gave me a ton of extra speed. I could summon him in defense mode to protect from Mirror Force, and then attack with that Wat Cobra, get the search, and get the plus off of my Xyz monsters. He's a light, which allows me to go into Paladynamo with him. He's also got 2,100 attack, so I can just put him on the board and run over just a ton of things if I didn't get another Thunder monster, but he also baited out Ryo, so he was my out to Ryo. And then we have 1 Honest. I believe I have an 11 monster count? No, it's a 16 monster lineup. Honest is just, Honest. And then I have 11 spells. The first 2 are Messenger of Peace. Won me a couple games. I probably would have run 3 if I had thought about it, if I had thought about it, if I had, the hindsight of 2020. I probably would have run 3 of these guys because once I had this on the board, I was usually controlling the game. I could put him on the board with a Wat monster, just get tons of pluses and get those pokes. Put it on the board with Maestroke and basically just stall out hard for a few turns while I built up resources. Just a lot of good things going on with Messenger of Peace. Probably would have run 2. Then the best card of the deck, Recycling Batteries. Now, I actually ended up siding this out a lot of games simply because I played against a lot of decks that are hurt by macro. But this card is freaking amazing. It's like Salvage except better. You can activate this card to get a Paladynamo or any rank 4 Xyz that I want. It's pretty freaking amazing. So even though I sided it out in a lot of games, this was definitely the best card of the deck. Then we have 2 Duality for speed, because it's Duality, and because if you open with a Duality and a Thunder Seahorse, you can basically set up your hand in any way you like, which is amazing. 2 MSTs, pretty standard. Heavy, because heavy, Dark Hole, Monster Reborn, all these staples. 2 Torrentials. My spell lineup is 11 cards, and my trap lineup is 13. I start with 2 Torrentials. It's Torrential, field clearing. I don't know why you wouldn't run 2 Torrentials unless you really depend on field presence. Double Bottomless, because it's great. And if you don't have 2 Solemns, or 2 Warnings, you might as well have Bottomlesses. It actually worked really well against Prophecy, and you'll see how that works later. But it just bottomless. I don't know. Mirror Force, a lot of people didn't expect this. I ran 2 because people just weren't playing for Mirror Force. They weren't expecting it. And this deck was just so back row heavy that it could support the double Mirror Force. And I don't know, it was just a great card and won me a couple games, including a 5th player who, if they had gone for Shockmaster, would have beaten me in game 2, but they decided that they didn't need to. They'd rather deal the damage. And then they lost because they ran right into a Mirror Force. So double D-Prison was also really helpful, allowed me to take a game against Chaos Dragons, just gets rid of things that I need to get rid of. It's another out. Then we have double Fiendish Chain to stop plays. It's Fiendish Chain, I don't know. And then 1 macro. I put this in my deck, I don't know, in my main deck, because game 1, if I open with this card, usually I won game 1, and that's a huge advantage. Didn't run 2 because I thought there were better things for my game 1 than macro, and I didn't want to open with macro and recycling batteries or something, and that would have been a bad combo. So 1 macro was fine for the main deck, and then your Solemn Twins. So things I didn't run include Sis Hunter, which I explained. Starlight Road is another one that people think I should run, but I didn't run because, as Kyle explained to me, for anything, you're basically running Starlight Road to protect against 2 cards, Heavy and Dark Hole. Otherwise, you're just looking at Mirror Force or Torrential, and there are ways to get around Mirror Force and Torrential, and I think that Starlight Road would have just taken up space that is better served using other cards. And I didn't run into many issues with Torrential or Dark Hole or Mirror Force. So I think that Starlight Road would just have been a bad choice for me. And then Violent Prism, it's a great card, don't get me wrong, but I don't think that the level 8 Synchros are especially good right now, even though you can make a 3,500 attack point Stardust. Stardust isn't that great right now. It's a little slow. It only takes down 1 card at a time. So I decided to go Xyz Heavy instead of Synchro Heavy, and I left out the Prisms. So let's move on to the extra deck. I had a couple of MVPs in my extra deck. The first being Maestroke. I'd usually put this on the board first turn if I couldn't open with Shockmaster. I could sit on this card for days and then flip my opponent's cards face down, make another Xyz monster with 2 more Thunder Family monsters, and then run over them. Maestroke was a heavy stall card for me when I needed it, and 2 was just a great choice. Then my other MVP extra deck card was Starleash Paladynamo. I don't know about you guys, but I think this is one of the best cards in the game. This card won me so many games because even if my opponent had 2 monsters on the field, I could take out both of those monsters at once with this card, because you can, if you use this right, what you can do is you can make their biggest monster have 0 and have no effect, and this effectively makes that monster useless until it leaves the field and they can bring it back or something like that. And then you can run over their weaker monsters. So now you've basically taken out 2 cards on their side of the field off of this guy. And then if they finally get rid of him, which I usually made sure that they couldn't, you get to draw a card. So freaking fantastic card. Heavily supported by this deck, so it was great. Then my other MVP was Shockmaster. I could make this first turn many games, and that would win me games all the time. I don't think I need to explain Shockmaster that much more. I would have run 2 if I could have, but I didn't have access to a second one, and I didn't think about it in time. So then I ran a Violent Sigma. I used it once the entire day. Utopia, I used it once the entire day, just because I could go into it under Gozen match. Violent Sigma just took a Priestess. Roach actually won me a match against Chaos Dragons. I didn't expect that. I was just using the Roach as placeholder, but that was pretty cool. Abyss Dweller, because it's great, I can make it first turn, and it wins against Mermail. Then you've got Black Ship of Corn, which I used for the obvious uses. Gemnite Pearl didn't make it the entire day. Thunderspark Dragon won me a game once, or ended me a game once. And then Photon Papilloperative also ended a game for me. But those two I didn't use that much. And then a Chimera Fortress Dragon for the side deck, which I also never used. Now, the side deck was where this deck really shone for me. I pretty much won most of my matches because of the ridiculousness of my side deck, and just because my opponents didn't have anything good to side against me. I ran a third MST because of the Fire Fist matchup, and because I was expecting Decree the entire time, but nobody thought to side Decree against me. So that was really helpful, but third MST was basically insurance against Decree. Then we had one Pachycephalo, one Fossil Dyna, for the Mermail and Rabbit matchups, and also for the Samurai matchup. I would have run a second one over the Cyber Dragon because I didn't play against an entire Karakuri deck the entire day. I sat next to quite a few of them, but I never actually fought one. So I would have taken out that Cyber Dragon for a second Fossil Dyna if I could. Then there was the holy trinity of Anti-Prophecy. I had 3 Prophecy matchups yesterday, won every single one because of these 3 cards. I ran 2 more Macro Cosmos, 2 Mind Crush, and 2 Anti-Spell Fragrance. And for anybody who doesn't know Anti-Spell Fragrance, I'll make a video about it on a different day, but basically what it does is neither player can activate spell cards from their hand. They must set it and wait until their next turn. Not until the next turn, but their next turn to activate it. So it would slow down their combos a ton. They couldn't use Fate until their turn, which worked extremely to my advantage, and it meant that they couldn't do the crazy Secrets and Masters play. They could only play one of them at a time. And then Macro just took away their resources, and Mind Crush for when they got that Desperation, did that Desperation Priestess thing. And one of my matches, I opened with all 3 of them, games 2 and 3, and it wasn't even a good match from there. But then we had 2 Gozen match for the Dino Rabbit and the Wind Up and Samurai matchups. I had 1 Dino Rabbit matchup, and I basically won because of this card because he didn't know what to do against it, and then he tried to push into time, which didn't end up working for him because I ended up having a Cobra and a Messenger of Peace. So then we had 2 Ryos, which I did not use the entire day. I'm not sure why I didn't, but I didn't. And then 2 Veilers, which I almost always sided in when I wasn't going first. So that was the deck. It was great fun. Had a lot of great matches against a lot of people who were also having a lot of fun. Had a lot of sportsmanship involved. And it was just a great day. And I hope you enjoyed this deck profile. Have fun playing around with it if you like. And if you want to look at more deck profiles, absolutely hit that thumbs up button. And subscribe to me for more Yu-Gi-Oh videos. And until then, this is the RJB0, and I got a jet. See you guys.